Hi everyone. So I wanted to start out with a shout out to all of us who are going on this really perilous and treacherous journey home to rescue and to defrost really go back to the scene of the crime and face, you know, all the energies around that and kind of release and rescue our children. One of the things that has occurred to me is that we can't possibly have free will because, you know, we're built literally in the twilight of consciousness, so like we're not even there, and we're built by forces that we don't know about, and we are born to people that we don't choose to be born to. So it's sort of like all the forces that are navigating us we have no access to, so how the fuck are you gonna have free will? But anyway, that's just on the sideline. I want to talk about, again, back to the release of these children because, you know, I keep thinking, oh, it's going to be done. And I had an incredible experience, which hopefully I'm hitting bottom, and I think ultimately we have to, it's almost like you've got to come home and you've got to evict everyone that has taken over your home. And in the kind of last few years of my experience with the ayahuasca and doing ceremonies almost every day, there are thousands of entities that take over your soul, that take you over. That fear and that terror is a sort of, for these entities, is feeding grounds to basically paralyze you. So, it's an incredible, I think all of us who are doing this, it's just, you know, the perseverance that's required, the amount of courage. I think, you know, we're just warriors, because I don't think many people would go back and make this incredible journey into the darkness, which again is populated by so many entities and darkness and terror, and it's a really incredible journey. It's like really cutting your way through a dark, dense forest, and you don't know what monster's behind the next bush. So last week I had stopped talking to my mother on the phone because I realized that she was completely oblivious. Every time I spoke about this, it was like, oh yeah, it must have been awful, but I just, it's like, you know, if you're raped and if you're abused and if you're tortured, and it's like, oh yeah, whatever, you know, well, you know, it's like you fell over. It's a kind of disregard, and also part of me feels, well, you know, she must have known something. One of the ceremonies I had, she was hiding behind a door, so she knew that we were being beaten up, but she was terrified herself, and you know, she couldn't really face him, or didn't have the courage to face up to him, and so it was pretty hellish growing up. But there's something inside me that's quite angry, because I think both of them, it was a combination of both of them that, you know, really are responsible. And in one of my ceremonies that I had, they basically, you know, she said to me right out, you know, you were deeply damaged. You were deeply damaged by these people. So I think, you know, for me to be healthy and to grow, I need to be able to starve myself of the stuff that I grew up with, and unfortunately she's one of them right now. So that's been part of last week. But what was interesting was that it happened, I just decided, look, I can't do this, I can't have a conversation with her anymore, because it's just, you know, it's like you've mushroomed into like the beanstalk, and she's like still a little tiny ant, and she kind of refuses to fully acknowledge what happened. And that's very difficult, because again, it's a denial of the truth. You spent your whole life denying, in fact, you know, basically refusing everything. So it's very difficult to be around people that refuse your truth. So, and it wasn't with anger, it was just like, I just can't do this. If I'm to grow, you know, I have to starve the trauma of what it knows, and the trauma knows refusal of its truth, and that means I gotta, you know, I can't indulge any energy in that kind of back and forth unless someone's acknowledging and is helping you to sort of put the pieces of the puzzle back together. It only adds kind of more kind of walls to, you know, the thing is, you've got to remove all the obstacles. You don't want to add obstacles. You don't want to, you know, keep making the journey, the archaeological dig even more difficult than it is already. So it had started with sort of, I just don't want to talk to her. And then I'd had few ceremonies where I'd asked about her, and she came up, like, you know, that first statue that was found in the cave, very large breasts and this like fat squat woman. So it's the first thing that you learn about in art class. Oh my God. The Willendorf, I don't know. Anyway, so the images is of this huge woman with these huge tits and massive stomach, and I'm really tiny and I can't get past her. Like, she's a border, she's a barrier. I'm very small, she's very huge. And I had this image really at the beginning, about 2 or 3 years ago, but I had it again when I asked about her. Basically, she was walling me and I couldn't grow with her. She actually added to all the horror, because she was young, a toddler, spoiled, just not really into herself, quite selfish, and a kind of a master syndrome, the whole kind of like unfinished kind of persona thing. Not bad, but just like not, still in a very infantile kind of consciousness. And so I had 2 ceremonies, and I was, and they were just like, yuck, really, but nothing like sensational. And then I could feel that something was building up, and then on Friday I was like, I woke up and I was so fucking angry and so upset, and I felt so paralyzed, like I've done nothing with my life. And I realized that, and it was just like this feeling of like total like darkness, like you'd hit rock bottom. And I went to this meeting, and I thought, how are these people doing all this great work and I just feel like paralyzed, like I've not done anything, like I've been like a ball on the end of a ping pong bat, but the bat's they're just moving around, but there's like a robot, like I've been automatically doing things, but this huge weight has always kind of owned me and has basically navigated everything. And that's why I'm saying it's like, you don't have free will if you don't own the construction of your life, and if you're not negotiating, you can't negotiate when you're 4 and 5 and 1. It's just happening and you're just trying to survive. So that's what's owning you. You don't have a decision making. There's no decision making. You're just making decisions from a trauma you can't see, especially if it's sexual abuse. And I have no idea about it. I mean, there's marvelous talk about this beautiful woman who was sex trafficked. It was really amazing. But she was very aware since she was 6, like this is happening, and she was very aware of what happened. I mean, it was awful, and my heart goes out to her. I just can't imagine what that's like. But it was a very clear, and in my instance, it certainly wasn't that bad, but well, it was pretty bad though. But the fact is that I had no, the magic of creativity and refusing it, like I literally reinvented them in my head. I literally invented another family. It was not them, so that I could survive the terror of what had happened. So by the time I get home, I was like, I literally wanted to break down on the street and just start convulsing, crying. And in ceremony, I did. I literally convulsed crying for like, I had so much grief, deep, deep, deep grief. So this little kid has been protecting them by refusing her feelings. So I have to refuse that I feel absolutely terrible and that this is the most awful thing that anybody's done to me, so that I can protect them and I won't be hurt and they're going to be okay. So the convulsions of feeling, like, I was always made to feel, your feelings are wrong, you look wrong, you're weak. It's a really incredible con job on our little innocence, the way these people function. And I just convulsed with grief. I don't know for how long, but anyway, in ceremony, and here's the thing, in ceremony, she just kept saying to me, you were deeply damaged. You were deeply, deeply damaged. And I was just convulsing and convulsing. And then I saw this blood and I thought, oh God, what the fuck is that? I thought, did he take me to have an abortion or something when I was little? I mean, no, I was just like, I don't think so, because, yeah. But it was this deep, deep grief. And I think it was the grief of the real, because we weren't allowed to have any, we were told, you're not allowed to have any feelings, and you're wrong if you have feelings. And as a child, I kept this incredible deep grief, this well of grief, which I had refused myself. And by refusing that grief, I had refused my life. I had refused everything. My breaker switch was completely off, because I'd refused those feelings in order to protect them, because they couldn't be, disturbed, or, if you had a feeling, it was a nuisance. You're not allowed to have a feeling. I mean, for God's sake, you grow up, you're 3, And so I was so scared of having, and it finally just sort of, and I think it came up because the thing was, I started, at first I was like, I can't talk to her. I got very angry at the beginning, and I thought, no, it's just that this is a trauma that's, I need to starve it, and she's part of it because she was part of him, and she also was there. What are you gonna do? She was there. She didn't see. Very difficult for me to, if your kid is crying and depressed, and she's crying out, and you see your husband beating up your children, you kind of know what's going on. So I thought, no, I can't talk to her. And then it started to come up, and these feelings of just, I think there was a kind of a digging then into as I kind of cut her out, these feelings are able to come up. I was allowing them to come up, and I wasn't refusing them, because by speaking to her every day, and her not acknowledging me, was another way of refusing all the stuff. So it really is a return. I mean, and I think once that grief of that little girl was let go of, and it was convulsive. I literally woke up the next day with this huge, my eyes were all bloated, because I had been holding so much grief and so much sorrow. And again, I didn't see exactly what happened. There was sort of blood somewhere. I have no idea. I didn't, and she usually kind of the next day gives me either during the ceremony or the next day, when I'm kind of really calm and all the feelings come up, she will give me an image of this is what happened. But she didn't give me anything the next day. It was the next day's ceremony was just really calm. There was hardly any movement. There's a lot of concentration, a lot of energy coming through my hands, tons and tons of energy moving through my hands. I could feel it, and not a lot of movement. I think a lot of the movement is she's pricking the resistance, and it's responding. I think the resistance is responding to not allowing it to come up, anything to come up. And the three or 4 days before, there was a lot of movement, really, there were spirits. I mean, I literally, this is my experience from having done this every day. First of all, you don't choose who to come to. You're just born. Secondly, you're constructed when you're literally in the twilight of consciousness. So you don't chat, you don't navigate that. You're built without you. And in that place, if shit's going down, there's some other dimension where tons of spirits are coming in. And all the fear and all the terror and all the darkness is you're literally invaded. I've seen hundreds of them. I mean, they're entities that are in your system that are literally are paralyzing you, and I suppose that this whole distraction thing, whatever the distraction is, alcohol, so I don't care what the distraction is, I get it, because in the distraction, it's very clever, you'll never go in there. I'm not feeling good, I just have a drink. I'm not feeling good, I just watch some TV. I mean, I do all the time. I don't drink, but I just go watch a video. Because there's something in you that's holding you hostage. And it's very clever. It's like, yeah, no, you're not going to see this. You're going to go, you know, watch a video on YouTube, or, you know, make a phone call, get a cup of coffee. So the only way in is, for me anyway, has been through another dimension. You know, therapy, all that stuff. Yeah, nothing. You know, other meditation got me. Kundalini got me higher. But you know, you're fighting darkness. I mean, you're literally rescuing. It's a hostage takeover. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's a hostage takeover. And I didn't even know I was a hostage. But it is literally. And that day, Friday, I've never felt so dark. I've never felt so down. Like really, like, this is the end. Like, it's like, I just want to die. Huh? Well, because I was getting because the ego, so the ego's a robot, like, it's built like ding, 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 you know, to cover up all that stuff. It's kind of balloons out when you're abused. And it doesn't know anything. It's just like, it plays a role. And when that robot or that ego is being stripped off, well, now what happens is, and I think the most difficult thing was the child was completely exposed. I think that's why it was so dark. Completely exposed. And